And also, of course, as you know, English is not the first language in Haiti. So you could easily misspell.
And it's also possible that they spelled it correctly, but paint peels and rust flows.
Well, there's that too. Yeah, I mean,
totally.
Yeah, and so I don't know. So it could have been another Frieden. Or Friedon, I guess. It could have been another Friedon. Or again, the dates were wrong.
Frieden.
Yeah, Frieden is good. Or maybe Bob just sort of was. Maybe he massaged the facts a little bit. I don't know.
Or maybe it was Mel Gibson.
Yeah. Oh, there's that too.
Yeah.
So but I mean, if it wasn't for that, and again, the people that they went and talked to in Georgetown and showed Florian's picture to. Well, I've seen Florian's picture. He's actually a good-looking guy. He was a good-looking guy with long hair and everything. But I don't know. He wasn't that remarkable looking.
He looked like a lot of guys in the late 80s with long blonde hair.
Yeah, I mean, he was a good-looking guy, but I could see where you could easily look at that face, and he looks like a lot of other tourists and other couple that you've run into in the past month.
We all do.
And let's not forget too that these people were remembering something. This was May when Bob and so it's
and
like
her dad.
Yeah, it was Bob Nyberg and Paul. That's it. So it was May when Paul and Bob went to Georgetown to show these pictures around. Yeah, months later, and these guys are supposedly remembering. Yeah, I saw this Florian guy. I don't think so.
Well, or they're remembering. Yeah, I've seen him before in my life. Maybe he was there. He could have been there months before.
Yeah, it could have been.
And they remembered him because he's a notorious drunk, or he was a jerk, or he was a great tipper.
He could have been there years before.
Yeah,
and
or not
they
years.
were just like, that hair.
But yeah, if you were to ask me, did this thing, you met this guy, was it 4 months ago? Was it 6 months ago? 8 months ago?
I might not know.
I probably wouldn't be able to give you a total clue on that either. So I just have to sort of come in favor of the ship sank.
Yeah.
And this is another one of these mysteries, it's just going to be kind of one of the. It's like DNA testing. One of these days, we will make the oceans transparent. We'll be able to look down at the bottom and see all sorts of crap laying down there, and we'll solve a lot of mysteries.
If we see a wreck surrounded by bicycles, we know we found our boat.
There you go, bicycles.
Haven't you seen there's the photo of the boat head on, and then there's the photo of the boat being loaded, and it's one of the crew members. He's loading a bicycle. And they did so many shots in the Unsolved Mysteries segment of bicycles stacked up on the bow of the
Oh my gosh.
ship.
I feel like that's got to be...
Oh, I know. Yeah. I'm totally making fun of Unsolved Mysteries.
Oh, yeah, I had no idea, but they might find a ton of bicycles down there. I don't know.
Probably will.
All right.
So that's about it. Tune in next week when we talk about something else. Meanwhile, if you'd like to send us an email with your own theories, our email address is thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. Our website is thinkingsidewayspodcast.com, where you can download our episodes or listen to them. You can also buy merch. There's links to our Instagram, links to our social media, Facebook, and also links to Stitcher Premium. We have a Stitcher Premium link, right?
Oh, yeah.
Which is really where you want to be listening to us anyway.
It's the right way.
It is the right way. Yes, absolutely. It's what the cool kids are doing. Stitcher Premium allows you to hear our content 4 days early and ad-free. And you also get some bonus content, too.
Yeah.
And if you sign up for 12 months and you use the code SIDEWAYS, then you get a free month. So go to Stitcher.com/ThinkingSideways and sign up today.
By the way, don't forget, on the website also is the complete episode list.
Oh, yeah.
I went in there and updated it because I realized I hadn't touched it in a little while.
Oh,
so it's completely up to date.
So
Thanks
it is
for doing
actually
that.
updated now.
Yes. Yeah, sorry about that.
So, yeah, that's a little easier than having to scroll through all the way page after page after page
totally.
after page. Much, much quicker. Yeah, I've used it myself, actually. Of course, we are on Facebook, as I mentioned, where we have a group and a page. So like the page, join the group. You got to answer 2 questions, but they're very, very easy. We're on Twitter, where we are Thinking Sideways. Lots of great stuff going on out there, including pictures of my cat, a Bigfoot bumper sticker, and let's see what else.
That's the wrong account, Joe.
Oh, was that Instagram?
That's Instagram, but it's fine.
Okay.
It's totally fine.
All right,
now you can tell everybody about Instagram because we're talking about it.
We are on Instagram, where we are Thinking Sideways Podcast. So find us out there. It's easier to get to us just through our webpage. And we have a subreddit, of course, Thinking Sideways. That's about it, I think, for this week. You guys
awesome.
Got anything more to share?
No?
Any more ideas?
Don't get on boats with people you barely know, especially when they're rusty little boats.
That's probably wise life advice. Yeah.
Yes.
Petition to find out the names of the 7 Haitian men who went missing.
I would be, if anybody has access to...
Please send it our way.
Yeah, because I could not find it, and it actually is very, very frustrating.
This is going to be really frustrating when somebody's like, I Googled it, and 15 seconds later.
I know.
Yeah.
So, but
because
if you
Google
do...
hates us.
But if you do, please do send it to us, because I would like to know.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah, we'll do a special episode just on those guys. All right. See you guys next week.
Bye, everybody.
Guys.
Ta-ta.
Hey guys, Steve here. You are listening to one of our original 26 episodes. If you've listened to any of our new episodes, you're going to notice that we're sounding a little different in these ones.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
There is.
They've been remastered.
They have been remastered.
Because they had a really annoying hum.
Yeah, I mean, a huge thanks to listener James for doing almost all of the legwork on this thing.
Yeah.
You'll also notice if you had listened to what we're calling the Lost 26 episodes before, and you're re-listening now, the music and sound effects are gone.
Yes, we've gone back to straight audio. So be warned, we sound a little different today than we do in what you're about to listen to.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thinking sideways.
I don't understand.
Does not compute.
You never know.
Insufficient data to formulate a slide.
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Steve.
I'm Devin.
I'm Joe.
And we're going to tell you a strange story.
Do you have a strange story for us?
I do have a strange story
Then
for us.
tell us.
All right, this is the story of the ghost ship.
The ghost ship?
The ghost ship?
The ghost ship.
The only ghost ship.
The ghost ship.
A ghost ship.
A ghost ship?
Okay.
It's called the ghost ship, but it's a ghost ship.
I gotta say, I love ghost ship stories.
I know they are your favorite. You've told them around the campfire a lot.
They're pretty freaking awesome, yeah.
All right. Well, this story begins in 1942.
Okay.
So the United States was still in the middle of, or near the end of, though they didn't know it, World War II. The country was worried about attacks on the western coast from the Japanese.
Sure.
So what they decide to do is the country decides, or the Air Force decides that it'd be a great idea is let's get blimps because they can hover in one spot for long periods of time without using a lot of fuel, and they can patrol the coast. Watch out for ships and subs, investigate.
Absolutely. There's actually talk about bringing the blimp back.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There actually is talk about that. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, it has many uses, and they're cheap to keep up in the air.
They are.
And very safe historically.
Except for the hydrogen filled ones.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
but,
there's
yeah.
that and what we're going to talk about. So in 1940, the U.S. Navy, I think I said Air Force before, but it was the Navy, purchased from the Goodyear Company their blimp and named the Ranger. It worked, so they decide we're going to get a couple of more of these. On March 5th, 1942, the L-8 was purchased from Goodyear,
Sure.
and that was the blimp in question. Now,
So it's a blimp story. Ghost blimp.
It's not a ghost ship, it's a ghost blimp.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is a blimp, but they call it the ghost ship.
Okay.
Yeah, it is an airship after all.
Exactly.
But I like ghost blimp better.
Yeah.
Really.
Ghost blimp.
Ghost blimp.
Not only did these blimps do routine patrols up and down the coast, they also were involved in some clandestine operations. The L-8 was actually involved in an operation where it left the San Francisco Bay on the 11th of April, 1942, and it was hauling a secret 300-pound cargo, which it took out to sea, and it met the aircraft carrier, the USS Hornet. Today we know that the cargo actually was parts for the B-25 bombers, and that the Hornet initiated the first attack on the islands of Japan, so our first air raids actually on Japan. Those were known as the Doolittle raids.
Okay.
So they played a pretty important part at the time. But we're going to move forward in time from there to August 16th, 1942. The L-8 is scheduled to go on a routine patrol to look for submarines. It's supposed to leave Treasure Island, which is in the San Francisco Bay. It's going to head on about a 30-mile trip out to sea, circle around, look around, and come back. The L-8 normally would have a crew of 3. In this instance, there was Lieutenant Ernest Cody, Ensign Charles Adams, and Machinist Mate 3rd Class James Hill. So we've got 3 men. They meet the cargo load of this particular blimp. That's the max it can carry around its weight limit. Unfortunately, that day it was very foggy, and as we know, when it's foggy, condensation forms on everything. A blimp of that size gets so much water condensation on it that it changed the weight dynamics of the blimp, and they realized that it had too much weight, so it couldn't take the entire crew. The Navy decides, well, we're going to go ahead and just send it out with 2 of you, and we're going to leave someone behind. So it turns out that James Hill is the one who's chosen to stay behind.
Yeah, lucky for him.
Right.
Yeah, indeed. Well, he goes on board, he sets up all the controls, makes sure everything's in line, and then he walks away from the blimp. Now, keep in mind, this crew had been on this blimp many, many times, so it wasn't as if it was their first run out.
Sure.
So at 6:03 a.m. on the 16th of August, 1942, the L-8 takes off from Treasure Island. About an hour and a half into the patrol, which would be 7:42 in the morning or a.m., Cody radios back that he has spotted a potential oil slick, and they're going to go investigate. That's the last time anybody ever heard from the crew. Now, keep in mind, I'm specifying here, it's the crew. About 11:15, we're in Merced at the beach, California. It's a lovely day. We're all hanging out on the beach. And all of a sudden, the crowds watch a blimp drifting in from the ocean and descending. It descends in the beach and snags. Snags there, the breeze hits it. I'm not exactly sure. It damages an engine, and somehow the blimp breaks free. Crowds are walking towards it. They want to know what's going on, right up until a depth charge falls off, at which point everybody runs away.
Sure.
Sweet.
Okay, well, the depth charge, luckily enough, didn't go off. But the blimp, now lightened load, continues on inland. It eventually comes to rest in the 400 block in Daly City on Bellevue Avenue. The blimp...
That must have been a traffic stopper.
Yeah, because in the process, it was a terrible fender bender. In the process of coming down, it hits a house and a couple of cars.
Of course.
Not something I would want to have running into my house.
No.
Probably not. Did anybody get any cell phone pictures?
No, unfortunately, they didn't have them on. The iPhone wasn't around yet. So we do have a quote from that time, and the quote reads as such. It was Mrs. Appleton. She said that all of a sudden, this huge behemoth had settled and scraped across the top of her roof. She said it sounded like chains dragging, but the entire house was blacked out because of the size of this thing. She raced to the front window, wondering what in the world was going on, and she saw the rest of it. The gondola hit the crossarm, broke off part of the mechanism, and then gradually settled to the ground. So this thing scraped across the roof. It was big enough and made quite a lot of noise.
Yeah.
The ship comes to rest in the middle of the street, and what happens, of course, the envelope that holds all the gas
collapses.
And just swamps everything.
Can you imagine if that thing just lands in your house, you wake up, and it's collapsed over your house, you're looking out the windows, you can't see anything, I mean...
You're looking at the clock going...
Wouldn't that be a little disconcerting?
It's 11 o'clock in the morning, but it's pitch black out. This is weird.
Can't see 2 feet in front of me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That would be a little odd.
So did anybody get trapped underneath this thing when it collapsed?
Well, no bystanders were trapped, but there were a lot of people who were kind of following it as it was coming down. So as soon as it hit, people were on the scene. Everybody presumed that the crew must be stuck in the gondola, the part that hangs on the bottom that the crew hangs out in or works in, and so they rushed to their aid. They hack and they cut and they saw their way through the envelope, desperately trying to get to the gondola. A gentleman who lived across the street by the name of William Morris. He was a volunteer firefighter, and he went out there and did everything he could, and he was one of the first people who got through the envelope and got to the gondola. When he got there, he said it was very strange because, as the quote goes, the doors were open and nobody was in the cabin. So the crew was completely gone. Nowhere near. Nobody knows where they are. They're never found. The Navy launches a land and sea search. They go everywhere looking for them, but they can't find them. A year later, the Navy declared Cody and Adams officially deceased, and the search officially ended.
So did they? I assume that they examined the envelope or whatever you call it for bullet holes.
Well, the problem was that the bystanders who were attempting to help
hacked it all up so much,
destroyed it. It was to the point that it was not salvageable.
Did they find any clues in the gondola?
Well, they did find some things in the gondola, and some of this is weird. Some of it's odd.
Okay.
And we'll just go ahead and we'll start with the gondola itself.
Okay.
When the Navy arrived, they inspected it, and they found that all the parachutes were accounted for. The life belts, which is the equivalent of a life vest, were gone. The life raft was still in place, and the radio was working normally. So everything seemed in order. Most of the fuel was still left in the ship. The engines were switched to on, but they weren't actually working at the time, obviously, because of the crash with the Cliff and Merced. And there was a briefcase in the gondola that still contained the classified files that were kept on the ship. There were rumors at one point for many years that there was a half-eaten sandwich and a warm cup of coffee still on the console. That's been debunked. That actually never happened, but you do come across that when you find this story out there. Now, there are a couple of other things that we know that we found through some research that's been done. I had talked about earlier there was a dish or a big dent in the middle of the envelope. What that was from is that at some point the blimp began to rise, just essentially straight up, to the point that it got high enough in the atmosphere that the pressure was too great. And it caused a automatic pressure release valve to go off, which vented a bunch of the gas, therefore reducing its lifting power. So as it came back down into the atmospheric pressure it's meant to work under, the bag wasn't as full, so it sank, and that's why there was that giant dip, which explains why, as it was coming inland, it continued to drop and eventually crash into the ground.
Okay.
The only other account that we have of the L8 during its mission is from 2 fishing boats that were out that day. And they said they did observe the blimp descending from whatever its normal operation elevation was down to about 300 feet above the sea. Presumably, that's when they were investigating the oil slick that they had radioed back and said they were checking out. They didn't know if it was a submarine or something. Well, as any smart captain would do, both captains pulled up their nets and turned around and tucked tail, because the last thing they wanted to do was be in the area if it dropped a depth charge. It'd be kind of a bad thing. So that's as far as it goes. That's as far as we know all of the facts that are associated with the L8.
And there's nothing else weird that they discovered?
Nope, nothing else. Crew is gone. Everything that should be in place is pretty much in place. Nothing that they can tell is missing. Nothing out of the ordinary that they can tell has happened. Well, of course, rumors begin, and there's a lot of some crazy, some not so crazy theories out there as to what could have happened.
I think it's actually quite obvious what happened. It was a gay suicide pact.
Okay, Joe. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's why
that's
I
elementary.
spent all this time looking at this story. You figured it out. Thank you, man.
Absolutely.
It was obvious all along.
Yeah. What was I thinking? All right. Here's what the theories are.
Okay.
We know that the L8 was out looking for Japanese submarines. That was their primary mission, was to find submarines to protect the coastline so that the Japanese didn't